Shit Show the podcast starts now with DJ Cornbread, aka the Empress.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, DJ Cornbread. Welcome back to Shit Show the podcast, the space where we dig deep into stories that shape who we are, how we live, and how we heal. So we're going to dive into a very sensitive yet essential topic, talking about childhood trauma and how it impacts our lives as adults. So if you're listening to this, you may have experienced like childhood trauma yourself, or maybe you've witnessed how it shows up in the lives of people around you. In this episode, we'll talk about what childhood trauma really is, how it carries over into adulthood, and most importantly, what we can do to address it. Because whether it's in your, it can be relationships, careers, or mental health, trauma is something that many of us have to contend with at some point in our lives. I don't care who you are, at some point in your life, you would have to contend with trauma. So before we go any further, I just want to remind you, you are not alone in this. Nobody's ever alone in this. Healing is possible. I have been through a lot. And some people know, if you know, you know, if you know, you don't. And there is hope. So let's just start by breaking down what childhood trauma actually means. So trauma in this context refers to experiences in early childhood that leave lasting emotional, psychological, or physical scars. Stuff that you run with, like, for your life. Like, you constantly think about it, and it stresses you out, and it's, like, constantly back there. No matter how you try to get away from it, it's just always an issue, you know, well, that's what I'm talking about, you know. So it can be caused by a wide range of events like abuse, neglect, bullying, or even experience like a major life disruption, like a divorce, or moving away from home, or, you know, being so used to being with your family or being with a parent or a sister or brother, and then all of a sudden it's just you know. But here's something important. Trauma isn't defined by the event itself, but by how the person perceives and processes it. So what might be traumatic for one person could be something that another person navigates more easily. Everybody doesn't deal with trauma the same way. The way we internalize these early experiences shapes how we see the world, ourselves, and others. So think about it this way. Like, when we're children, we don't always have... let's say we don't always have the tools or the emotional maturity to process complex situations. So you don't know what to do as a child, you know. So like, as a result, our brains and bodies store these unresolved feelings, often subconsciously, like leading to patterns that, you know, can resurface in our adulthood. So even though it happened when you were a child, then you start thinking about it later on when you get older, and like, yeah, like, damn, that's why that happens. So it's like, as we grow up, the effects of childhood trauma can follow us, often without us even realizing it. Like, it can show up in like our behaviors, our relationships, and even how we approach our work and daily life. Honestly, if you think, some people might not, but just think about it. And that's some real ish. Like, just think about it. One of the ways trauma manifests is through attachment issues. For example, say if a child grows up in an environment where they feel neglected or abandoned, they might struggle with trusting others later in their life. Because when they were younger, they felt abandoned. They didn't have anybody. Nobody loved them. They felt like nobody cared. So later on, they're going to struggle with trusting other people in their life. So it might be hard for them to get in relationships. It might be hard for them to find friends. It might be hard for them to get along with family members. You know, you never know. It's like, this can make it difficult to form healthy, secure relationships as an adult, leading to things like anxiety, avoidance, or even emotional dependency. So another way trauma shows up is through, I'll say, self-worth and self-esteem issues. Because say maybe as a child, you were told you weren't good enough. or maybe you weren't given the support you needed to develop your confidence. So as an adult, that lack of self-worth can manifest in feelings of inadequacy, imposter syndrome, or chronic self-doubt. Like, it'll make you doubt yourself a lot. Your feelings will be strong on yourself, when with stuff like this. So it's like, then there's like an emotional regulation. Many people who experience childhood trauma, they usually struggle with managing their emotions in healthy ways. So this could look like, say, intense mood swings, like irritability or emotional outbursts. Like, 1 minute you okay, and then the next minute you're like, dang, what's wrong? Like, are you straight? And then some people might not understand, or you might be in a relationship where you don't understand and know how to deal with the person that has that. That's why it's good when you have friends or you're in a relationship to talk and have these couple hour talks and stuff just between y'all, or have a talk with friends or whoever you feel comfortable talking with, if it's not the person you're dating or whatever the case may be, because you never know what a person's going through or what they have went through that have them acting the way that they're acting. And it might also show up as like shutting down or like suppressing emotions to avoid feeling vulnerable, which, and I can say that, yeah, that's a big one, because like, that's one thing. Like, some people suppress their emotions because they don't want to feel vulnerable or whatever. So, and of course, it's like, we can't forget the physical impact. So unresolved trauma can affect the body's stress response. And like they say, pressure can bust a pipe. So you have to make sure, just try not to stress. Try to do what you need to do to heal or get that type of positive energy around you, so you're not stressing and putting yourself your body at risk, and, just leading to long-term health issues like chronic pain, fatigue, and digestive problems, or even like conditions like heart disease or autoimmune disorders. Like, it's just, stuff plays a role. Trauma plays a role. So to make it a bit more relatable, like, I'm gonna share a couple of these examples with you guys. So like, these are some stories I've heard over the years, and this will illustrate like how trauma can show up in an adult's life. So I'm not gonna put nobody out there. I ain't gonna give y'all a name. So just gonna make up some names. Okay, so let's say Sarah. So say Sarah, she grew up in a home where her parents were emotionally distant, and they rarely offered her praise or affection. She grew up thinking that she wasn't deserving of love, attention, like nobody cared about her. She just, thought that she, just was nothing. Nothing was there. So then let's fast forward to her 30s, and she's an adult. And she's achieved a lot. She's successful in her career, but when it comes to relationships, she pushes people away. She has a hard time accepting love or intimacy because deep down, she still believes she's not worthy of it. That could be one. So then let's say another situation. Let's use the guys, for example. Let's say James. So say James was a victim of severe bullying when he was a child, when he was in his childhood. He was teased a lot, constantly about his appearance, his personality. Like, they just always talked about him, and it was just always, he just never wanted to go to school. He was just, as a child, stressed, but I know he's stressed. So fast forward, he's in his 30s. This is kind of thing, to experience this led him to develop anxiety and low self-esteem as an adult. So he's now constantly worried about being judged by others, and he struggles with social situations. So it's like, despite being very talented in a career, he often feels like he's an imposter, or like is terrified of people finding out he's not good enough. But between both of them, the Sarah and the James situation, examples or whatever, that's basically how a childhood trauma can quickly shape an adult's life.
Since it refers to deeply distressing experiences that we had as a child, like I said, such as abuse, emotional, physical, or sexual neglect, loss of a parent, witnessing violence, or growing up in a chaotic, unsafe environment, These events can leave long-lasting effects on a person's brain, development, emotional regulation, and a view on the world. So some of those key areas that we talked about today that can affect you in your adulthood, once again, emotional regulation. Adults may experience intense emotions, mood swings, or emotional numbness, difficulty calming down after being upset or becoming easily overwhelmed. Your relationships, attachment issues, clinginess, like avoidance or fear of intimacy, difficulty trusting others, patterns of unhealthy relationships or fear of abandonment, self-esteem and identity, negative self-image or chronic self-doubt, feelings of shame, worthlessness, or not being enough. Your mental health, higher risk of anxiety, you get a higher risk of depression, PTSD, or substance use, intrusive thoughts or flashbacks, especially like with unresolved trauma. If it's not resolved, then it's constantly an issue. Behavioral patterns, people pleasing or conflict avoidance, professionalism or chronic procrastination, like hyper independence, relying only on oneself due to past disappointments. Like, might just only, that's why you always rely on yourself to do certain things because of disappointments of others from your past. Physical health. Chronic stress leads to issues like insomnia, fatigue, digestive problems, or autoimmune disorders. So the science behind it is like they believe childhood trauma impacts the developing brain, like I said previously. So your decision-making, your memory, all of that can lead to all of this, and it has problems with your nervous system as well, keeping the body in like a fight, flight, or freeze state of mind, even when there's no threat. So healing and recovery, you guys, please seek therapy. I mean, trauma-informed therapy, self-awareness, learning to recognize triggers and automatic reactions, meditation and mindfulness, practices, boundaries and relationships, building healthy boundaries. Seek supportive, non-judgmental connections with people. Body-based healing, education and compassion, like understanding that many adults struggle, from survival patterns, not personal failings or whatever, but replacing shame with self-compassion. So childhood trauma doesn't define a person. Once again, it does not define you. Never forget that. But it does shape responses, behaviors, and beliefs. So the good news is that healing is absolutely possible. With the right support, many people not only recover, but grow stronger, more resilient, and more connected to themselves and others. Thank y'all for tuning in. I know it's been a lot. We have talked about a lot. And I just want y'all to know, like, everybody goes through these things, so you're not alone. If you need someone to talk to, just make sure you reach out to those. If you feel like nobody is hearing you and you're constantly saying things, and you just, you have no one, like, just reach out to a therapist. I just say therapy, because, we don't want that next level to be the worst level. So, all right, it's your girl, DJ Cornbread. Y'all already know, another good EP. I'm going to have a special guest in the building next episode. My boy HB going to be here with me. The Diamond Heights Company is going to be in the building, so y'all look out for that EP something coming next or whatever. Don't forget, if you would like to be a guest on the show, hit us up on forshitshowthepodcast.com, or you can hit me up on TikTok at forshitshowthepodcast.
You're in the mix with the one and only celebrity DJ Cornbread, a.k.a. The Empress.
This your favorite hottest princess, Sexy Red. In the mix with celebrity DJ Cornbread.